The Mars noon burned soft red across the dome, bathing everything in a warm, dusty glow. Sergeant Leo Griggs sat on a metal crate outside Hydro Bay 4, sleeves rolled up, boots kicked off, and a foil-wrapped treasure on his lap, a roasted chicken leg, crisped to perfection, smuggled from the hydroponics chef who owed him a favor. Real meat was rare. Synthetic protein dominated the menus here, but now and then, a black market bird made it through the supply chain unnoticed. Leo didn't question the logistics. He respected good food the way a poet respects silence. He bit in, crunchy skin, juicy flesh. His eyes rolled slightly. "I could marry this thing," he muttered. Behind him, the automatic doors to the dome hissed open. Leo didn't look up. Probably Jenkins again, asking to trade carrots for canned fruit. Instead, a shriek like a boiling kettle pierced the air. "He's devouring a fleshling." Leo froze. Half-chewed chicken slid down his throat like gravel. The voice was alien, rasping, throaty, formal, and unmistakably panicked. He turned slowly. Ambassador K.R. Thal stood 10 feet away, his iridescent skin bristling in alarm. 2 of his aides stood behind him, wide-eyed and trembling. The ambassador's eyes, large and yellow, locked on the chicken leg in Leo's hand. Leo blinked. "What, this?" He raised the leg like a caveman offering a gift. "It's chicken. You know, poultry. A bird. Tastes like joy." The aides shrieked in unison and fled behind the nearest hydroponic crate. K.R. Thal crouched, antennae flattened, claws splayed out in front of him. "Do not approach. You are consuming a sentient cousin. You are a predator class Theta." Leo stood up slowly, confused. "Hold on. Wait. This is food. Not sentient. Farmed. Cooked. Delicious. I saw it twitch. That was probably the skin. Relax." The ambassador pressed a comm link embedded in his upper arm. "This is K.R. Thal. Emergency protocol. Threat level, immediate carnivore. Human officer consuming kin flesh. Recommend evacuation. Diplomatic collapse imminent." Leo's heart sank. "Oh, come on." 15 minutes later, Leo was sitting in a sterile meeting room beneath a flickering LED panel, arms crossed, chicken confiscated and sealed in a quarantine container labeled Biohazard, Cultural Sensitivity Review. Across from him sat Lieutenant Rivas, Human-Martian Alliance liaison. Her expression was unreadable. "What the hell were you thinking, Griggs?" "I was thinking, damn, this chicken's good. That's all I was thinking. You ate meat in full view of the Clore delegation. I didn't know they were coming. It's not like I threw a barbecue during the peace summit." She sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "To them, it looked like you were eating a small sentient creature. That was screaming, by the way. That's steam. It's flavor leaving the food. It wasn't a death cry. They don't know that. Their species evolved without predation. They associate consumption of flesh with intertribal war. You just publicly acted out their most sacred nightmare." Leo leaned back, groaning. "I wasn't making a statement. I was making lunch. The ambassador is calling for a full review of human behavioral protocols. He wants you sanctioned, or removed from Mars entirely." Leo stared at her. "For eating a chicken? For being seen eating a chicken?" A pause. Then he chuckled. "Do you realize how stupid that sounds?" She didn't smile. "Unfortunately, interspecies diplomacy doesn't care about your sense of irony." K.R. Thal's formal complaint was presented via holofeed within the hour. He appeared flanked by his translators, his posture stiff. This human consumed what appeared to be an infant member of our biome class Delta. Publicly. Without remorse. While licking grease from his fingers. "I wiped them on my pants." Leo protested from the viewing room. The ambassador continued, voice trembling. "This signals a dangerous predator impulse. If they consume kin, they may consume us. Our alliance is in peril." Leo dropped his head into his hands. By evening, the Mars Colony Council convened in an emergency session. Leo was ordered to attend a cultural sensitivity evaluation. It was led by Dr. Valari, the colony's xenoanthropologist, whose patience was thinner than Martian air. "You're not being punished," she said flatly. "You're being educated." Leo rolled his eyes. "Right. Educated on what parts of lunch make aliens scream." Dr. Valari tapped her tablet. "The Chlor don't even eat. They photosynthesize through subdermal membranes. Food as a concept is sacred to them. Watching you bite into muscle tissue activated deep ancestral trauma. It was a rotisserie special. To them, it was a ritualized execution." He leaned forward. "Then maybe someone should have told me that before I nearly caused a war." Dr. Valari gave him a long look. "They expected you to read the welcome packet." "I skimmed it." She raised a brow. "Did you skip the chapter labeled "Do not display predation in front of Chlor delegates"?" "Apparently." She sighed. "You've got 48 hours to redeem this. You'll attend a shared truth session with the ambassador." Leo's jaw tightened. "You want me to apologize for eating chicken?" "No," she said calmly. "We want you to explain to K.R. Arthal what a chicken is. Preferably without salivating." That night, Leo lay on his bunk, staring at the ceiling of his prefab housing unit. His room still smelled faintly of garlic and spice. He wasn't angry. Not really. More stunned. He'd spent a lifetime in combat zones, defusing bombs and sniping threats from 300 yards. But one drumstick nearly did what 10 years of war hadn't: collapse an entire human alliance. "First contact diplomacy," he muttered. "Next time, give the aliens a menu." He turned, eyes drifting toward the cooler in the corner. Inside, half a roasted chicken waited. He groaned. "This better be the last meal I nearly go to jail for." The meeting room felt colder than usual, though Leo suspected it wasn't the air filter. He sat at a curved white table beside a translator drone the size of a basketball, humming softly. Across from him stood a tall, slightly quivering figure cloaked in shimmering silk green membranes, Ambassador K.R. Arthal. Two aides flanked him, both clutching scanning wands like weapons. The ambassador's large yellow eyes refused to meet Leo's. "State your intentions," the drone relayed, mimicking the warbling cadence of K.R. Arthal's voice. "And do not bring edible limbs into this chamber." Leo lifted both empty hands. "No food. No limbs. Just words." K.R. Arthal's jaw flexed. "You may begin your truth." Leo glanced at Dr. Valari, who nodded from behind the glass panel. He took a breath. "Okay. I'm Sergeant Leo Griggs. I eat meat. Sometimes. Not all the time. What you saw yesterday, that was chicken. It's a bird. It doesn't talk, think, or feel the way you do." "You dismembered it," the drone translated from K.R. Arthal, the voice rising slightly. "And ingested it as heat vapors poured from its wounds." Leo winced. "All right, it sounds bad when you say it like that." The ambassador took a wary step back. Leo sat forward. "We don't eat sentient beings. It's illegal. Unethical. That chicken was farm-raised for food, not hunted for sport or fear. Just like your species absorbs light, we process proteins. You choose to consume life. You choose to absorb it," Leo countered. "Plants are alive too. Everything consumes something." K.R. Arthal made a low trill, possibly disapproval, possibly indigestion. The drone paused before continuing. "Perhaps, demonstration may offer clarity. Visual learning is advised." Leo looked at Valari through the glass. She gave a single nod. An hour later, Leo stood in Dome 3, hydroponic greenhouse. Lush rows of Martian-adapted vegetables stretched before them in neat trays. The air was humid and warm. K.R. Arthal entered slowly, a shimmer mask draped over his lower face like a veil. Leo plucked a red tomato and held it up. "This," he said, "is a tomato. Grown here. Fed by recycled water and artificial sunlight. Alive, yes, but non-sentient." He took a slow bite. Arthal recoiled slightly. "You pierce it while still ripe. Would you prefer I wait until it rots?" Arthal's antennae twitched. "Is that acidic fluid? It bleeds?" Leo chuckled. "It's juice. Tangy, not traumatic." He offered another tomato. One of the aides shrieked. Arthal silenced them with a wave, then reached forward with long, clawed fingers. He touched the fruit as if handling an explosive. Leo waited. Finally, the ambassador brought it to his membrane-covered mouth and pressed gently. The juice soaked the veil. His eyes widened. "This is tolerable," the drone translated. Leo smiled. "Congratulations. You just tasted Earth." Arthal eyed him. No screams. No struggle. Only flavor. Exactly. They walked the greenhouse path slowly. Leo explained the basics of Earth's agriculture. Beans, lettuce, even soy meat. When they passed the protein synthesizer, Arthal paused. "This device mimics the consumption behavior I witnessed." Leo opened the hatch, revealing compressed plant-based patties. Meatless. But looks and tastes like meat. "It's part of our diplomacy package, no actual life taken. Just flavor engineering." Arthal studied it. "You replicate predators, so they may feel peace?" Leo shrugged. "Or satisfaction. It's complicated." They paused near the spinach beds. Arthal turned. "Your species contains paradox. You destroy and protect. Consume and create. Laugh while wounding." Leo nodded. "Yeah. We're a mess. But we try." A long silence stretched between them. Then Arthal asked, softly, "Was the creature you consumed mourned?" Leo blinked. "You mean the chicken?" The ambassador nodded. "We don't mourn farm animals. But we try to respect where food comes from. Even your food has stories." Leo smiled faintly. "Everything does." Later that evening, Leo sat on a bench overlooking the Martian crater plains, the horizon glowing faint purple. Arthal appeared beside him, his movements soft as wind over sand. "I have reviewed Earth history," the ambassador said, voice unfiltered. "Dangerous hobby," Leo muttered. "You have killed. Enslaved. Eaten species to extinction." Leo exhaled. "Yeah. We've also cured diseases, built cities, saved strangers, and sent music into space for someone like you to hear." Arthal nodded slowly. Duality. Terrifying and impressive. They sat in quiet for a moment. Arthal cleared his throat. "Your earlier consumption. May I inquire, what flavor agent was applied?" Leo blinked. "The chicken?" "Yes. Garlic. Paprika. Some rosemary." "Why?" Arthal tapped his translator. "Curiosity." Leo chuckled. "Are you saying you're curious about chicken now?" "Understanding often begins with the tongue." Leo laughed. "I'll keep that quote framed." When Leo returned to his quarters, a sealed packet sat on his bunk. Inside was a red envelope bearing the chlor sigil and a small transparent pouch filled with dried green flakes. A note read, "Ambassador blend, composed of herbs safe for both species. For educational culinary purposes. Let this spice be peace. Arthal." Leo grinned. Diplomacy didn't always require translators. Sometimes, it just needed a decent marinade. The Mars dining hall had never been this crowded. Benches were polished. Flags of both Earth and the Chlor Confederacy hung on either side of the central table. A long buffet stretched across the room, steaming with trays of colorful, meatless dishes. At the far end stood Sergeant Leo Griggs, apron on, spatula in hand. Beside him, with cautious dignity, was Ambassador K.R.R. Thal, minus his usual security detail. Leo glanced sideways. "You ready for this?" "I am uncertain," K.R.R. Thal said, adjusting his translator. "But fear must not obstruct flavor." A phrase Leo hadn't expected from the same alien who had once screamed at a drumstick. The colony had organized a culinary peace summit at K.R.R. Thal's suggestion, an open meal between species, no meat allowed, but plenty of human and chlor dishes recreated with local resources. Leo had been asked to prepare a version of his infamous meal, this time with lab-grown protein and full transparency. He stepped forward and addressed the audience, his voice calm and firm. "For those who don't know me, and for those who know me too well after last week, I'm Leo Griggs. Yes, that Leo. And today, I'm not cooking fear. I'm cooking understanding." He lifted a covered tray. "This is chicken, but not real chicken. It's soy-based, flavored with the blend gifted to me by the Chlor Ambassador. No animals involved. No sentient beings harmed. Just the meeting of taste and trust." He revealed the tray. Steam rose. The scent, savory, smoky, warm, wafted through the hall. A few chlor hissed softly, more in curiosity than alarm. The humans stayed silent, watching. K.R.R. Thal stepped beside him and raised a green claw. "Today," his translator said, "we sample stories. We learn through senses. And we discard ancient fear for new flavor." Leo passed him a small plate with a single skewer of the mock chicken. It had been grilled lightly and sprinkled with the Ambassador blend, mint, citrus zest, and a whisper of heat. K.R.R. Thal sniffed it, his eyes unblinking. Then, slowly, he placed the skewer near his facial membrane and absorbed the scent, tasting it without chewing. His expression remained still. Everyone waited. Then the Ambassador turned to the crowd and said, "Acceptable." The silence broke. Laughter rippled through the humans. The chlor twitched in surprise, then a few cautiously approached the buffet. Leo breathed out. Over the next hour, something rare happened. Humans and chlor sat together, sharing trays of eggplant, kelp chips, spiced legumes, and plant-based skewers. The translator drones worked overtime as people traded preparation tips and stories about their first kitchen fires or harvesting errors. Leo saw Jenkins explaining mashed potatoes to a baffled chlor engineer. Another colonist handed out samples of Earth's chocolate, which triggered a squeal of excitement from a young chlor aide who promptly demanded a box. K.R.R. Thal approached Leo with a neutral expression. "Your protein substitute." It mimicked muscle convincingly. I could not differentiate. "That's the point," Leo said, handing him a small jar. "That's rosemary. The real star of the dish." K.R.R. Thal accepted it. "A plant. Yet it teaches me peace." Leo grinned. "Plants have been doing that for ages. We just needed to stop yelling over them." The Ambassador leaned in slightly. "We once believed humans were a reckless flame. Unstable. Voracious. We are," Leo replied. "But sometimes fire is used to cook, not burn." That made K.R.R. Thal pause. His antennae rose slowly, the chlor equivalent of a smile. "You may be an emissary yet, Sergeant Griggs. I prefer head chef of cultural recovery. Both titles carry weight." The feast ended as the simulated sun dipped behind the dome, casting long shadows across the shared tables. No fights. No screaming. Just a pile of empty trays and murmured translations of recipes scribbled into shared datapads. The next morning, Leo awoke to a soft chime at his door. He rolled out of bed, hair wild, shirt half-buttoned. He opened the door. Ambassador K.R.R. Thal stood outside, holding something behind his back. Leo blinked. "Ah, good morning. I come bearing a request." Leo rubbed his eyes. "You want to report me again?" "I wish to sample a leftover." Leo stared. K.R.R. Thal cleared his throat. "I have been curious about the substance known as sandwich." Leo stepped aside. "You came to the right place." He walked to his cooler and pulled out a neatly wrapped sandwich, sliced soy chicken, greens, aioli, and a dash of the ambassador blend. He handed it over. Arthal took it reverently. "Do I absorb it whole?" Leo shook his head. "Small bites. Savor it. It's not a threat." Arthal nodded and, delicately, placed the first bite against his feeding membrane. His pupils dilated. "This is transcendent." Leo laughed. "Congratulations. You're now officially addicted to lunch." Arthal gave a slow, "Please Trill. I believe our species will endure." Leo folded his arms, leaning against the wall. "So, we're good?" "We are, marinated in mutual trust." Leo grinned. "I'm putting that on a t-shirt." Later that week, Leo's official file was updated. The disciplinary note was replaced with a commendation, cross-cultural mediation via culinary engagement. He didn't ask who wrote it, but he suspected the word marinated had come directly from Arthal. As Leo stood overlooking the crater at dusk, a breeze brushing against his faceplate, he unwrapped another sandwich. He took a bite. And for once, it didn't taste like conflict. It tasted like peace. The door to Leo's quarters slid open with a soft hiss. He hadn't requested a visitor, but there stood Arthal, wearing a dark ceremonial cloak layered with glistening green threads. In his upper claws, he held something covered by a cloth, rectangular, steaming faintly. Leo sat up from the cot, blinking sleep from his eyes. "Ambassador," he said, half-dressed. "You bring food, or another cultural crisis?" "Both, potentially," Arthal said, entering with careful grace. "I have created a dish." Leo rubbed the back of his neck. "You cooked something?" "I assembled," Arthal corrected. "Following human documentation. Instructional video, beginner's earth sauces for dating and diplomacy." Leo tried not to laugh. "Please tell me that's a real vid." "It has 9.8 million views." "Of course it does." "All right, let's see it." Arthal placed the steaming item on Leo's table and lifted the cloth. Beneath it sat a roughly shaped block of protein substitute, coated in a thick greenish-gold sauce. Steam rose slowly. The scent was odd. Tangy, sweet, and something like wet moss. Arthal folded his claws. "It is called Chicken Alliance. A fusion attempt. Earth-style protein, chlor fermentation roots, ambassador blend, and a sauce of emulsified oil, citrus skin, and bioluminescent spice pods." Leo stared. "You, emulsified?" "I watched the video 12 times. He hesitated. Then sliced a corner with a sterilized spork and took a bite. The texture was chewy but fine. The sauce hit first, sharp, then mellow, then lightly floral. It wasn't chicken. It wasn't anything he'd tasted. But it was good. Leo nodded slowly. "I'd eat this in public." Arthal beamed, his antennae rising like celebratory flags. "Then the trial is a success." Leo wiped his mouth. "You made this to show off?" "I made this, because you fed me truth. I wish to offer you honesty in return. Through food." Leo leaned back. "You aliens don't do anything halfway, do you?" "We do not know where halfway is." There was a pause. Then both laughed, awkwardly, then freely. 2 days later, Leo found himself in an unusual place, the Mars Colonial Kitchen Test Lab. He stood with his arms crossed while 2 human chefs argued over proportions of ambassador blend, and 3 chlorade scanned fermentation cultures for compatibility. "This is absurd," he muttered to Valari, who stood beside him with a clipboard. "You say that," she said, "but Earth's United Food Council just requested a sample of Chicken Alliance for Peace Summit catering trials." He blinked. "You're joking. Griggs, you caused a diplomatic incident over chicken. Now you've accidentally created a peace food. They're calling it sauce-based reconciliation." Leo ran a hand through his hair. "This was never the plan. No one plans the first meal of a movement, she said. History's strange like that. Across the room, K.R. Arthal was demonstrating spice layering with robotic precision. He wore an apron that read "Marinate, don't hate." Leo covered his grin. That night, a message arrived from Earth. Subject: Provisional Approval. Sergeant Leo Griggs. Your collaborative culinary initiative with the Clore delegation has been noted by the Interplanetary Diplomacy Bureau. A provisional peace food designation is being applied to Chicken Isle Alliance, with distribution trials commencing in 3 colonies. You are hereby invited to serve as honorary liaison of cultural fusion, pending security clearance and psychological evaluation. Please refrain from eating anything sentient. Regards. IDB Council. Leo stared at the message. Then laughed so hard he had to sit down. Weeks passed. What began as a near collapse of diplomacy turned into a joint food lab between humans and Clore. Recipes were exchanged. Fermentation tanks installed. Soybean yield increased. K.R. Arthal even gave a TEDx Mars talk titled "Taste, the Final Frontier." And Leo? He found himself cooking more than guarding. Not because anyone told him to, but because when Clore engineers asked how to grill properly, or what barbecue meant, he was the only one who could explain without starting a war. One evening, Leo returned to his room to find a sealed container on his desk. The note attached read: "A final test. Tell me if it reminds you of home. K." He opened the lid. Inside, nestled in biodegradable wrapping, was a sandwich. It looked like the one he'd once made for K.R. Arthal, only slightly better. The bread was firmer. The sauce, glossier. He bit in. Garlic. Tang. That same strange sweetness from fermented Clore root. Balanced. Clean. Warm. It tasted like Mars. Like learning. Like the first time he understood that food wasn't just fuel, it was dialogue. He set the half-eaten sandwich down, leaned back, and smiled to himself. A message pinged on his compad. K.R. Arthal. Was the bite successful? Leo. Perfect. Like peace with paprika. K.R. Arthal. New title for dish? Leo. The sauce of peace. K.R. Arthal. Approved. Leo. Wanna grab dinner tomorrow? K.R. Arthal. As long as it doesn't scream. Leo laughed. Deal.